Hey, seventh graders. So I want to walk you through your directions of what you need to do for the week. So aside from Word Wizard homework, we are also going to have you work on another task. So if you go into the week 3 folder, that'll be a good start. So you'll notice here after Word Wizard, the first thing you're going to see is a link to this video, which hopefully you're watching. Otherwise, you may struggle a little bit with this week's activity. So I'm going to jump ahead of myself just a little bit and explain that every single thing here is going to lead you to this ultimate discussion board post. So all we're going to ask you to do is produce one sentence, which is your claim or your thesis statement about where you stand on whether or not social networking sites are good for our society. Now, I'm not going to have you do that on your own, of course. There's some things you need to work through before you can jump to that discussion post, but ultimately that's what you're submitting for the week alongside the Word Wizard stuff. So the first thing you need to explore is this website. It's called procon.org. So the way the website works is it gives you several topics and you basically can explore what are the pros or the cons. So they tend to be controversial topics. So of the controversial topics that have been listed, we decided to focus our first one on social networking sites. So what it does is at the very top of this page, it's going to ask the question, which in a debate is known as a resolve. It says, are social networking sites good for our society? So when you scroll down, you'll see here that there's a little bit of an introduction. But really what we would like you to focus on is just here this side-by-side chart of the pros and cons of that argument. So pros are saying, yes, social networking sites are good for our society, and the cons are saying, no, they are not. And the reason that they have these side-by-side is because they tend to be related to each other in some way. So for example, for the very first one, it says social media spreads information faster than any other media. Since so many people have social media, a lot of news channels or those who are involved in those kind of networks, they also have social media accounts, and that's where some of that information goes to. So it says here 78.5 of traditional media reporters polled using social media to check for breaking news. And you can see this is where people tend to be where they happen to find some of this information. Now, the con of that, though, is that sometimes it enables unreliable or false information to get out. So yes, it is a great way to get information out there fast, but sometimes that information isn't necessarily true. So if you're someone who's like, yeah, social media sites are great, here's a reason why, this may be a good point for you to bring up. If you're saying, no, I do not like social media sites, and here's a reason why, because they spread unreliable information, that can be one of your reasons. Okay. Now, this is not for every student, but I'm just going to throw it out there so you know that it is an option for you. Since this website is pretty overwhelming, it's got a lot of information on it, and I'm not saying you need to read every single thing here. You may just want to skim the site. The website does tend to put usually the more substantial or the better points to make in the beginning, and then as you work your way down, the points get a little weaker. But I still recommend skimming through the site. Since it is so much information for my students out there who would benefit from listening, know that that is still an option for you. So what you can do is when you go into the week 3 folder, you notice after I put the website in, there is a document here for the pros, and then there's also a document for the cons. So my students who've used this before, you are familiar with this tool. If not, you may have noticed that there's this little puzzle piece here at the top. This is known as our read-write extension, and this is something now that really all student and staff members have access to, which was not the case in the past. And the nice thing about this extension, if you've never used it before, just click it and then you just allow it to be one of your extensions. And then what it'll do for you is it'll actually read what's there.
Pro and con quotes. Are social networking sites good for our society? Pro, yes. Pro 1.
So you get the point. It'll read the site for you. I really do not recommend that for all of you. Okay, I would prefer you to be reading, even if it's just skimming through, I would prefer that. However, I know that there are some students out there that would benefit from listening to the information as opposed to reading through the information. So know that that's an option for you. Like I said, there's the pros page and then there's also the cons page. I thought it would be a little less overwhelming just putting everything in the one document. Plus, if you already know where you stand on it, you don't have to look through both. I mean, I think it's a good idea to still look at both, but what I mean is if you're already saying, yes, I think social media sites are good for our society, then maybe this is all you need to look at. You don't need to necessarily look at the cons in terms of putting things together for your thesis statement. Okay? So after you've gone through the site, you're going to want to start getting together a thesis statement or a claim. I'm sorry, I'm going to use those words interchangeably because they essentially are interchangeable terms. A thesis statement and a claim are the same thing. It's going to be referred to as a thesis statement throughout most of this video, but I know that there are some notes that refer to it as a claim, so just so you understand where that word is coming from. So when you go back to the folder, after you've looked at those documents in the website, and again, you don't need to look at the documents, that's just an option there for my students who may benefit from it. There are two other things. So the first thing that you can use is a resource, and I'm hoping this looks familiar to you guys because we have gone through these notes, but they're in your folders at school, so you don't have them with you right now. But if you guys remember a while back when we talked about argument, we did look at these notes. I can't remember if we filled them in or if we just looked over the key, but the key is here. Now, mind you, this note sheet is going to take you through everything. It's going to take you through every aspect of writing an argument. We're obviously not doing all of that. The only thing I need you to look at is part 2. Okay, so just remember when you're writing a thesis statement or a claim, remember that it's basically your position on a problem or an issue. So in this case, it's our social media networking sites good for our society. Okay, so what is your position on that? Is that a yes or is that a no? Remember, they say that a claim or a thesis statement should serve as the outline of your paper or the roadmap of your paper. And what that means is, in a nutshell, what is this paper going to be about? What are the points that you're going to make? All right, a claim should be precise. We don't want it to be very wordy or lengthy. We want it to be very precise. It should only make one point, so you need to avoid being wish-washy in your claim. And I know that that can be hard to do sometimes, but you really don't want to come off as not being really sure of yourself, especially in an argument. So you can't say, well, social media is great in a circumstance like this where we can't be around one another. However, social media is not great in other cases. I really need you to kind of pick a point. You got to weigh the pros and the cons and figure out where you stand. Try not to be wish-washy with your claim. And then if we were writing an essay, just know that your thesis statement or the claim should always be in the beginning, in the introduction, or the opening paragraph, and it should also be restated in the concluding paragraph. But at this point, that's really not what we're concerned about. So just remember these two pieces. It should be precise and it should make one point. Another thing that you can use is there's a video in here as well that I linked in. It's a good video I've used in the past. I may have even played it during ELT for a few of my courses. But just click the link. I'm not going to click it right now because it's going to open up to a video that's going to have an advertisement, but it's there. It is a Powtoon, so you do have to read the video. Okay, there's lots of great things I found on YouTube, but honestly, this was the most helpful one, and it didn't take up as much time, which I thought would be helpful because I know your time is precious. Okay, and that ultimately leads us back to the discussion board post. So just want to look at this with you guys really quickly. Directions say, please insert your thesis statement in this discussion board. Remember, it should be one sentence. So avoid confusing this with what you've done in history. I know students have always told me, oh, well, when we do our DBQs or when we're in history, we've always been told that each reason should be a sentence. Please don't do that, okay? It should not be a sentence. You're not putting in any data, you're not putting in any statistics, you're keeping it very general. So let's say I was against social media. Maybe I would say something like social networking sites are not good for our society because they spread unreliable information, blah, blah. Okay. I want it to be short, sweet, and to the point. And there are actually examples um, that you can look at through the notes and things. And then also just think back to the SpongeBob trials. You know, we had that conversation of SpongeBob SquarePants is guilty because he had motive to kill, witness testimony, put him at the scene of the crime, and he was desperate for money. Okay, keep it simple. You get into the reasons more in depth when you get to the body paragraphs. And again, right now we're just focusing on the thesis statement. All right, please make it clear if you believe social networking sites are or are not good for our society, and make sure you include 3 reasons that you gathered from the site to support your claim. So here's the example. And again, this is not telling you which side to pick, it's just giving you an idea of where I'd like you to go with this. So you would say social networking sites are good for our society because reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Or you would say social networking sites are not good for our society because of reason 1, reason 2, and reason 3. Okay? Please let us know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I'm hopeful that I covered everything that you're going to need in order to get through the week. However, if you're still confused about something, please be sure to reach out. Remember, you've got lots of resources out there, but definitely reach out to one of us and just let us know if you have any questions about what exactly it is that you need to do for this. So remember, what'll be due this week is going to be this one post here in the discussion post, okay? And then it's also going to be the word wizard homework, okay? Please let us know if you have any questions, and thank you for taking the time to actually watch this video. All right, take care, guys.